Hi guys, my name's Nadine, welcome to my channel and welcome to a wrap up. It has been ages since I've done a wrap up, like longer than I thought it had been. So I do hope you've made a cup of tea. If not, pause, go get yourself a drink because this could take a little while. So let's just crack on with it, shall we? Let me get up my pictures. So first of all, a book that I finished in the last few months was The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. This is the second in the Thursday Murder Club series. And so in this one, Elizabeth is contacted by somebody from her past, essentially asking her for help. So he's been accused of stealing a huge amount of diamonds. I think it was about £20 million worth of diamonds from this criminal, this hardened criminal, like a mafia type. And so his life is in danger. So Elizabeth, of course, can't resist helping, and she enlists the aid of the Thursday Murder Club. But it's not long before the bodies start piling up. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it as much as the first book in the series, which was surprising actually, because a lot of the time there's like that second book syndrome. But no, I really enjoyed that one. Next I read Shirley Jackson's We Have Always Lived in the Castle. So this is a book that has been on my TBR for a long time, and I'm really pleased that I picked it up now. This is told in first person. It's from the point of view of Merricat Blackwood. She lives with her sister Constance and her uncle Julian in the Blackwood family home, where they are essentially ostracised by the townspeople, and they very much isolate themselves. They're an odd group, an odd, potentially murderous family. They have lived in this way for a long time, since the rest of their family were poisoned at the dinner table. Constance had stood trial for it and was acquitted. But yeah, there is a lot of suspicion around the family, and they are definitely an eccentric bunch. So things are just sort of plodding along. They are well entrenched in their routines, and then all of a sudden one day there is a knock at the door, and it is an estranged cousin, Charles, I think it was, who very quickly ingratiates himself into the home and is clearly trying to get his feet under the table. Which Merricat is not happy about. This is a short read. It is really atmospheric, and the characters are really eccentric and sort of all wrapped up in their own kind of neuroses, and yeah, it's an excellent book. And even though the characters are all very strange, they are really likeable. I enjoyed being in Merricat's world, even though at times it was quite unsettling. So yeah, I would highly recommend this one. Next, let me find the picture. Next I read Abaddon's Gate by James S.A. Corey. Sorry guys, the lighting's not the best. So this is the third book in the Expanse series, which, as you know, I've been reading and enjoying. So this very much follows on from the previous books, so I won't go into too much detail because I don't want it to be spoilery. But there is a structure mysteriously built in space just outside of the rings of Uranus, I believe. And Jim Holden and his crew find themselves as part of the sort of scientific military convoy that are sent to go and investigate the ring and what may lie beyond it. But underlying all of that, there is also a plot on Holden's life, and the person behind that does not really care about the consequences or who else gets involved. Again, I really enjoyed this book. I'm loving this series so much. I'm looking forward to getting to the next one. Hopefully, I don't think it'll be the next book I read, maybe the one after that, but yeah, very much enjoying that. The next one then is The Cat Who Sniffed Glue by Lillian Jackson Braun. I feel like this is maybe 8th or 9th book in the series of the Cat Who books. I can't even really remember what this one's about. A young banker and his new wife are found brutally murdered in their homes. And it is somebody that Jim likes and cares about, so he and Coco investigate. These books, I always think of them as like a little snack between meals. Like this, they're so short and really, really easy to read, but I mean, sometimes they can be quite forgettable. Like the quality of them are very much up and down, but I do really enjoy them, and I'll probably reread them again and again and again because they're just so easy. Next, I started another series, and that is the Murderbot Diaries. So I read All Systems Red by Martha Wells. Again, this was a really short read. Excuse me, sorry. So this is set in the future, where the human race is sort of out there in space doing its thing. But each like exploratory mission needs to have a security unit with them, which is essentially like a security android. So this mission, this book follows a scientific mission, and they have their own sec unit with them that you know, they've employed from the company. But what they don't know is that their sec unit is self-aware, and it has hacked its own governor module, and it has a murderous past. You follow the point of view of the sec unit that calls itself Murderbot. But all this Murderbot really wants to do is be left alone, to watch its TV shows in peace and try and work out who it is, really. But then when a neighbouring scientific mission goes dark, they lose contact with them. It seems like there might be a little bit more danger on this planet than they thought, and so the scientists and Murderbot investigate. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. It is as good as people have said, so I loved that one. I read the second one this month, so I'll talk about that in my next wrap up, and as soon as I read that one I ordered the next one. So yeah, I am very much enjoying that series. Next then, Death by Committee by Alexis Morgan. So this is the first in a series also. I think it's called the Abby McCree series. I could be wrong, but I think I saw it called Abby McCree #1. So in this one then, Abby's Aunt Sybil dies and she inherits her home and it seems as well also all of her responsibilities, so she's kind of coerced into joining all of the committees and everything that her aunt was doing before she died. Mainly that of the Quilting Guild, which she then gets heavily involved with. She also has a tenant that's living in a property, on her property, who in return for like reduced rent is like doing work around the house and stuff like that. So she gets him to clear out a load of brambles from her garden, but unfortunately quickly they find a body. So police are called and it is discovered that unfortunately it is a body of her aunt's rival, and she is wrapped up in the quilt belonging to her aunt. So yeah, Abby decides that the police aren't really taking it seriously enough, and they're too quick to judge her aunt's innocence on this one. So she investigates it herself. I enjoyed this. Unfortunately, the moment that the culprit was introduced, I knew who it was, which was a bit of a shame. But overall, I really enjoyed this. I would be interested in reading the next book in the series, which I think is called Death by Jack-O-Lantern, something like that. So when I can, I'm going to get hold of that one and see how the series goes. But yeah, I really enjoyed it overall. Oh, but yeah, characters though in this. So Abby was fine. She's not like my favourite character in these sort of cosy mysteries, but she was fine. But I really don't like her tenant / love interest. I'm really hoping that he grows on me, but at the moment he just seems a bit kind of toxic. But yeah, other than that, the characters are okay. Next, another mystery, and it was an Agatha Raisin, because you know there's always got to be an Agatha Raisin. So MC Beaton, Agatha Raisin and the Witch of Wickhaddon, if you can see that. So this is number 9, I think, in the Agatha Raisin series, of which there are about 352. It seems. No, I think there's like 30 something books in the series. So yeah, this is number 9. At the end of the last book, Agatha loses some hair. And so at the start of this one, she is basically taking herself off into seclusion whilst it regrows. Because, you know, heaven forbid, James Lacey should see her in such a state. So she takes herself off to this seaside resort, this sort of old, tired seaside resort. But there she learns that there is a local witch who can cure her of her baldness. So of course Agatha takes herself off to go and buy a potion from this witch. I don't think the meeting goes quite to plan. As Agatha has a tendency to rub people up the wrong way. I can't quite remember, but I feel like there was an altercation. But anyway, the next day this witch is found murdered, and obviously Agatha finds herself in the middle of everything, as always. It was a little bit more of a return to form. I think the few books prior to that I didn't like as much as all the preceding ones, but yeah, it's definitely picking up again, the series. So yeah, I enjoyed that one. Next, we have The Vampire by Tom Holland. So this one, the start of this, you are with Rebecca, who is wanting to find Byron's lost memoirs, and she follows the clues and finds that they're in like this crypt. I think it was like a crypt, but that's owned by the family, and nobody can access it unless they're a relative. So she goes to the solicitors, and she asks for access, and she's denied because she's not family, and then she's like, actually I am. So they give her a key. And so she goes to this crypt looking for the memoirs, but in fact what she finds is the man himself. And he tells her his story of how he became a vampire. From the start, I found it actually quite gripping to start with, and then it kind of dipped a little, but then it picked up again. And you're following Byron through his sort of misadventures in Greece and how he became a vampire and the people that, you know, he loved and lost along the way. And it's quite a nice blending of fact and fiction. I quite enjoyed this book actually overall, and it was nice to be in Byron's world. I grew up near Newstead Abbey, which is Byron's sort of ancestral home. So yeah, it's a good book. It's a good book. I enjoyed it. We're getting there, guys. We've got like 3 left. So next, I can't remember if I've told you about this book or not, but judging from the read date on Goodreads, I'm guessing not, but I feel like I have. So apologies if I've discussed this already. But next it is Altered Carbon by Richard K. Morgan, which is the first in the Takeshi Kovacs series, and there was a Netflix series based on these books as well. So this series is set in the future. It's like, I think about 400 years in the future. And it's very, very different to now. It's always so bleak, isn't it, in the future in these books? It's never a future I want to live in, put it that way. But yeah, the human race is sort of spread across interstellar space. Death is more or less a thing of the past because people's consciousness can be downloaded digitally into other bodies, and it's just sort of done as a matter of course. Takeshi Kovacs is like an ex-envoy and a convict, and as part of punishment he is, I can't remember the terms, but it's essentially sort of put on ice. So his consciousness is just sort of stored in the system, and I assume his body is just sort of in stasis somewhere. But then he is downloaded to Earth, summoned by this billionaire who gives him a sort of impossible choice, really. He's got no real choice, but to investigate the death of this millionaire's last body. He died in mysterious circumstances. The police ruled that it was suicide, but how can it really be suicide? This millionaire had a plan in place that his consciousness is backed up every 24 hours. If anything happens to his body, his consciousness is automatically downloaded into a clone body. So really, suicide, it just would be pointless. So yeah, he is tasked to work out what's gone on. I can't decide how I feel about this book. In a lot of ways, I enjoyed the mystery of it, and there was a lot of action, which was very enjoyable. But whenever there was a female character, I found it very problematic. He would constantly be talking about how he was getting hard or looking at boobs, and it's just like, oh gosh, really? Are we not beyond that now? You know, I don't know. I found that really grating, to the point where I don't know if I will continue on with the series. I can't decide. I can't decide how I feel about it. If anybody's read the next one in the series, let me know if it's worth continuing. I have all of them. But yeah, I don't know if I want to spend the time going back to that. But overall though, the world was interesting, the mystery was interesting, the action was good. So there was lots of good things about it, but also equally lots of bad. So yeah, there was that one. It's read anyway. It's been on my Kindle for years and years, and I've read it. Next was Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. This is like an interview with a vampire type thing, in that the main character, the vampire, is being interviewed, but by another vampire. Like, well, he's not really a vampire, he's like half vampire. Oh my gosh, start again, Nadine. What on earth are you talking about? This follows Gabriel de Leon. He is the bastard child of a human mother and a vampire father. He knows nothing about his father. But during adolescence, his vampiric tendencies, his power starts to come into effect, and so he is discovered and sent to work for the Silver Order, which are a holy order of other bastard vampire children who are bent on destroying all vampire life, basically. I really, really enjoyed this book. The character, who seemed like an absolute a-hole, start with, you find throughout the book that actually his character has many, many layers. The world in this is huge, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was gory, it was fun, it was fast-paced. There is a lot to get stuck into with this. I'm very much looking forward to the next one in the series, but anybody who is into vampire fiction, I would recommend this. This is a good time. And then finally, we are there. The last book that I read is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This one follows an ex-soldier, Alex Easton. Alex is summoned to her friends, her old childhood friends, in the in this fictional world of oh gosh, I can't say it. Raravia. Oh my gosh, Raravia, somewhere like that. To their ancestral home, but when they get there, they find that things are really weird. So the home is surrounded by this fungal growth. There is a strange pulsing light in the water. The animals, the wildlife nearby is all possessed and acting very weirdly. The sister, Madeline, of their friend, she is apparently dying, and she's sleepwalking at night, talking in strange voices. The brother's not faring all that much better, Roderick. He's acting very out of character, very strangely. So yeah, there is a lot going on, and so Alex tries to investigate to work out what on earth is happening in this home to save everybody. So yeah, this was a really, really good book. It was very atmospheric. It was a very gothic feel to it, as a retelling of the fall of the House of Usher, and it was done very well. There is another book in the series now which I'm going to order, but yeah, that was really, really good. So if you're in the mood for something gothic, I would definitely recommend that one. So I think overall my last few months have been really good for reading. I'm quite happy with everything that I've read for the most part. Let me know if you've read any of these, or if you've got any recommendations for me. I'm always happy to hear them. But yeah, that is it, guys. I will catch you in my next one. Bye!